Countries are opening their borders to tourists, hotels are offering amazing promotions, and airlines are announcing new ways to keep you safe. With the world slowly opening back up, you may be tempted to book a trip, or you may be debating whether or not you should cancel an upcoming trip. In today's video, I'll be going through the reasons why I will not be traveling in 2020. The decision to travel is yours to make, and I hope this video will help you come to an informed decision on whether or not travel is right for you right now.
Good evening at 11 o'clock. Some say we're moving too fast. Others say not fast enough.
Either way, new details tonight about the new normal as things begin to reopen.
My first reason for not being interested in trip planning at the moment is that the whole travel experience just doesn't seem all that appealing. Attractions are closed, events are canceled, and even simple things like hopping from a cafe to another in Europe just is not possible right now. And while those working in the tourism industry may be happy to see you, I can't imagine the general vibe from the locals is going to be quite so welcoming. Not feeling welcome or wanted is going to take away from the experience, regardless of how amazing a place is. Even here in Ottawa, if I'm on the subway and I see someone that has a suitcase or a luggage tag on their bag, I am 100% avoiding them. My second reason is the stress and anxiety associated with travel right now. This comes into play both before, during, and after your trip. Before your trip is when you're supposed to be very excited. It's the planning phase, it's the anticipation. For me right now, before the trip would be wondering, is the trip actually going to happen? Is my flight going to be canceled? Is my hotel going to be canceled? Is the event going to be happening? There's so much uncertainty that it would be hard to actually get excited. During the trip, I'd be wondering if someone is going to sit beside me on the plane, how full the flight will be, and then even if I'm going to get flagged with having a fever when I go through the temperature scanner. Even when you get off the plane at your destination, you may find out a few days later that there was someone found positive with COVID-19 on that flight, and now you also need to quarantine. You've been exposed. And then when it comes to after travel, like in Canada, when you arrive back to your home country, you may need to quarantine or to self-isolate. I didn't think this was that big of a deal when I flew home in March from Vietnam, but self-isolating at a time like this, when it's pretty scary to be away from family and friends, kinda sucks. Also, things that you would expect, like maybe ordering in Uber Eats or doing Instacart for all of your groceries, may not be possible. The demand for these services is so high, I actually wasn't able to get any groceries delivered, and it was a bigger mess than I thought it was going to be. So the thought of maybe quarantining when I arrive at the destination and then quarantining again when I arrive back home makes the whole travel experience not really worth it, in my opinion. My next reason is that I don't think I would be protected traveling through airports and on airplanes from the virus. Despite the safety measures being put in place, I still consider the risk of exposure to be high. Airlines have been one of the hardest hit industries, and they're working hard to make travelers feel safe and comfortable flying again. Part of this has been publishing new safety videos that show precautions like deep cleaning, a disinfectant spray, maintaining low capacity, and keeping the middle seats empty. Although, if you go online and try to book a flight, most of them allow you to book the middle seat, so. And then even if the middle seat is empty, you're only maintaining about 2 feet of distance, which is not the recommended 6 feet. Science is telling us that the best way to contain the spread of the virus, to avoid putting others at risk and putting yourself at risk, is to maintain 6 feet of distance from other people, have a social circle limited to 10 close family and friends. I honestly don't know how that one works. And to wear a mask in public places. This is just not possible on an airplane, regardless of what precautions you are putting in place. I've also done quite a bit of research reading reviews from people that have been traveling during this time. Many of them indicate that during the flight, most travelers are not even wearing their masks, often because they're eating or drinking. Flying right now also involves a level of trust for strangers that I just do not have. This includes trust for the staff that is cleaning the plane, that when they wipe down the 1,000th tray table for the day, that they're doing it with as much gusto as they did the first one. This also involves trust for the other people that you're flying with. International passengers are asked to fill out self-reports on whether or not they have been in contact with anyone that has the virus and how they're feeling themselves. I don't trust that every single person I could potentially be flying with is going to be honest about who they've been in contact with or how they're feeling. I'm also taking into consideration all of the new rules and restrictions. I find it hard enough to keep up with all the new regulations in Canada that trying to plan for and understand and learn all the regulations of a new country seems a little bit daunting and like something I don't want to do if I don't have to. This includes rules like the isolation period when you arrive, how long you're allowed to spend at certain attractions, if masks are required indoor, and even countries that have other restrictions in place like you must have international travel insurance to be able to enter. Two examples of this would be Aruba and Costa Rica. If you are looking for travel insurance that covers COVID, the one that I use is about $1.30 a day. It covers COVID, and it's the insurance company that flew me home with no questions asked and paid for my full flight from Vietnam to Canada when things got crazy back in March. I'll link to them in the description. Speaking of when things got crazy, another reason that I'm not so keen to travel right now is because of how quickly things can change with this pandemic. Global air travel came to a standstill, countries closed their borders, and Italy went into lockdown seemingly overnight. You could board the plane with things being fine and then land to a whole new reality. I previously mentioned that one of the reasons I don't want to travel right now is that need to isolate on my return home to Canada. Even worse than needing to isolate would be not being able to return home at all. This could mean unexpected expenses in the country that you're staying in relation to hotel costs or food, as well as having to ride out the situation in a country that you're not familiar with, where you don't have the support from the government, friends, or family. Global economic uncertainty is another reason why I'm choosing not to plan for travel right now. Regardless of how you look at it, travel is going to be an expense. You can certainly travel on a budget and travel to countries that are cheaper to live in than the country that you're currently in, but for the majority of people, you need to pay your travel expenses on top of other fixed expenses like rent and car insurance that you aren't using back home. Travel does not have to be expensive, but it is almost always going to be more costly than it would be to stay home. I've been very lucky to be able to continue to work full-time through this pandemic, but I don't want to assume that that's going to continue to be the case. Every day, the news is flooded with record-breaking cases in the US, or shocking unemployment numbers, and even parts of Australia going back into stage 3 lockdown. I'm not concerned about a second wave. I'm concerned about the fact that we're still deep in the woods of this first wave, and we don't know what's going to happen for the global economy or our own financial situations. I'd rather play it safe and be pleasantly surprised than taking the risk of putting out money for additional non-essential expenses like travel. Although I was speaking with someone the other week who said, "Why are you worried about the global economy? Even the stock market's recovered." Really? I'll leave it at that because that would be a whole other video in itself. One additional reason why I'm not interested in traveling right now is that in addition to my own financial uncertainty, I'm a little bit concerned about other people's financial uncertainty. There is no denying that these are tough times and many people are struggling. So good people may be tempted to do bad things like stealing from an easy target, unsuspecting tourist if that means that they can feed their family tonight. And I understand that increased crime at times like this can be a concern whether you're traveling abroad or you're in your home city. But statistically speaking, people tend to be at a greater risk of being robbed or scammed when they are traveling somewhere that they are not familiar with. So I do think the risk is higher if you are traveling than if you are staying home. Many of you have been asking me when I plan to travel again, and I was pretty hesitant to make this video because, well, it'd be kind of awkward if I announced I wasn't traveling and then I changed my mind, which I totally could do. But the main reason being that I don't want it to seem like I'm judging you or looking down on you if you do decide to travel. I don't necessarily think it's the wrong decision to travel right now, but because of all of the unknowns and all of the uncertainty, honestly, travel just does not sound very fun to me. But I would love to get some other opinions on this. So what do you think? Is it too early to start planning travel, or are you already making those bookings? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. As always, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you back on the channel next week. Bye!